here good? Are we in here good? Are we good? Yours is lower than mine. Let's see. Let me loosen this up. Hey, what's going on, everybody? We have a fun one today. This idea of a topic. Why did we come up with this idea?
Because I am starting the challenge in a day.
And I have...
Challenge is starting tomorrow.
Right, and I have a bunch of programs that are already based on beginner, intermediate, advanced, kind of.
And I have levels in my programs as well. And I think I was going through the intake forms. No, I was writing the check-in questions for our Academy members who will be starting the challenge along with all of our newbies. And so they didn't fill out the intake form. So for them, I had to ask some questions to figure out where I wanted to place them in terms of which program would be appropriate for them. And I added a little note that prompted this topic. I mentioned to you this note I added in there.
Okay.
Because in the past, in the programs that I've run, a lot of the time the equipment has been, like what exercise equipment you're using has been one of the determining factors of which level you would end up in. If you wanted to do barbell work, that was reserved for the advanced level. However, I wanted to, I've been kind of leaning more in the direction of incorporating more advanced training techniques, more volume in my advanced program. Some of the things we're going to talk about today that make it more difficult for people who may want to work with that equipment, but they're really not advanced trainees. So they're really not, it wouldn't be appropriate to have them in the advanced level. So I added a little note this time for those who are already Academy members to say, please let me know your preference for level of programming. Do not base it entirely off of equipment. There will be options to work with different equipment in all the levels, unless, of course, you select, I have no equipment at all and I need a body weight only program. There will be multiple alternate exercises that you can choose if, say, the main exercise is dumbbells or the main exercise is a barbell, that you'll have other options in all the different levels. So don't let your preference for level be determined based on equipment. And that's what got us talking about what really makes a beginner, intermediate, or advanced level, when trainee.
Fitness enthusiast. What makes you... So, in two
what
different...
makes your fitness level?
Right, and we're going to take this, we're not going to focus on you specifically. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about when we're putting a program together, how do we say, these are the things we're looking for in order to have a program that is good for beginners, or good for intermediate, or good for advanced.
Or where do we place a person?
What we have, how do we help a person determine which one would be better for them? So,
or if we were working with now when we're working with private clients, we can customize even more. And we talked about, as we were preparing for this topic, some of this is nuanced. And will be...
All of this is nuanced. So that's a caveat. None of this is a hard and fast. This is the only way it can be. There's an evaluation process, and it's going to be very fluid in reality.
Yeah, exactly. You might be advanced in some aspects, not in others.
Beginner in others.
You might be advanced on one exercise and a beginner in another exercise.
Right. So we're talking about the whole picture. Yeah.
We're trying to make this a simple way of thinking about if I was signing up for a program and I needed to tell the people who I'm signing up with which level they should put me in. These are the things that I would be thinking about so that you can think about it the way we think about it as coaches when we're assessing and evaluating where a person needs to be. That would be appropriate for them.
Right. And one of the pieces I think that you were alluding to, I'll just say it now because there's a couple things we want to set as the baseline of expectation. I'm going to keep going back here because
we have lots of notes.
Some of the topics we talk about, we riff. We talk about, hey, let's talk about, and then we just go. But this one, we felt like we needed a little bit more structure.
This one we're also diving into without any banter today.
We're just getting right into it.
Let's go right into it.
So one of the things that you were very that you repeated a lot and is important for you to cover was the idea that the equipment you're using doesn't determine the level. Specifically, we've both run into where people will assume that if we're giving them barbell work, they're in an advanced program or that they're an advanced athlete. That is not the case.
Or because they have worked with barbells.
Or because they have. Oh, I've been working with barbells for 5 years, so I'm going to jump into the advanced program. That may not be what you need. You might need machines. You might need something different. And there are just as many challenging and advanced programs that are just dumbbells or just kettlebells if you were to do, I guarantee you there's a lot of people, because I went through it myself, even after years of being a CrossFitter. There was a small segue, there was a period in CrossFit where one of the years, this might have been 2017, 2018, during the CrossFit Open, which is an annual series of workouts that we do as a community, there was a huge uproar in the community because a couple of the workouts were just dumbbells. And gyms were not equipped to support the workouts because they never got enough. They didn't have dumbbells to support the work. So gyms were freaking out. Gym owners were pissed off. Why are you putting all this dumbbell work? And CrossFit came back and said, guys, you never know what you're going to get. Fitness is about being capable in a lot of different things. And if you as a CrossFit gym owner have been solely focused on barbell work for your clients, you're not doing CrossFit.
Yeah, you're doing.
There are more things involved in fitness, and it crushed people because they'd never even been exposed to things that were just dumbbells.
And it was crazy. I love dumbbells so much.
Oh, they're awesome. I love them.
Like it in many ways it can be more challenging than barbells.
Very much.
I mean, any equipment can be more challenging than another, right?
But it's about what are you used to doing,
right?
In a lot of ways, and we'll get into that a bit. So.
Yeah. Or we may keep you in barbells, but you may need to drop your weight, because that was the other piece. I was like, it's not about the equipment and it's not about the load.
There's a combination of things, which we'll talk about. There's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that we're going to talk about.
Right. You may think you're advanced because you're lifting heavy, but your form may look like crap.
Yeah.
And you're not lifting heavy properly.
It's not about the weight. Okay. We'll get into the 5 things specifically, but besides the equipment doesn't determine the level, there's 2 additional things we want to talk about. Talked about it a little bit just now, actually. What I have in my note, ready for these words? Variable specificity in modalities.
What the heck?
The hell does that mean? Okay. If you have been traditionally, or your experience, let's say, has been going to Planet Fitness and doing all the machines, you're going to be more experienced and be more advanced when it comes to machine styles of work, right? Following a program that's hop on the chest machine, hop on the fly machine, hop on the curl machine, do those things. Once you were introduced to another modality, or say bodybuilding workout from powerlifting, or dumbbell workout for machines, or barbell workout from dumbbell workouts, or I've only been doing kettlebells and now I'm doing machines, like whatever it may be, when you're changing from one type or style of equipment or type of workout or focus, there's various, your level of experience and skill and all that stuff is going to be different. So you're maybe going from super advanced. Maybe I'm super advanced at kettlebell workouts. You can throw me a kettlebell and I'll be doing all sorts of things with it. But then you give me a barbell and I have no idea what I'm doing.
I can certainly tell you, as a bodybuilder, I would be a white belt, pure beginner with kettlebells.
Right. So thinking that just because you're experienced or advanced in one area, understanding that doesn't transfer to everything. It may give you a leg up because you can't be advanced in kettlebells and not have developed some proprioception and some coordination and some skill.
Some of the things we're going to talk about.
So it should be easier to pick up other things,
right?
But you're not going to start at the same level.
Right. If you've never done any exercise program ever, you're going to be more of a beginner in anything.
In anything, right. And we have that a lot, where we'll have people that maybe they've come from a powerlifting background, and we say, okay, great, powerlifting is cool, going heavy all the time is great, but we need to introduce some different stimulus and different adaptations to your body, because your body is so jacked from you going heavy all the time. We need to build a different kind of foundation so you can progress, right? Maybe you're stuck. Because I know I was there. I did heavy stuff for years and then was like, why am I not going anywhere? And I needed to step back.
Yep.
Number one, give myself more recovery. Number two, my diet had a lot to do with it. And then number three, it was just not going heavy all the time.
Yep.
Doing more reps, doing
I have
different
a lot
things.
of
I
ladies
saw
that
that
come
progress,
to me
right?
loving the heavy, low reps, and then they come in there and they can't execute a 15 rep set.
Right. Right.
And they're like, oh my God, why do I feel so out of shape?
Yep.
Right? It's a whole different way of training.
Megan, the whole idea of this talk is that you're supposed to be drinking your coffee while you're listening to the talk so you can keep up with the big words. Okay? So, all right, so that's one thing. So specificity is different. Things are different. If you're doing one thing, you starting somewhere else. The other one is progression. And everybody progresses differently. So what were we talking about? I've got fitness progression variable as my note for this. What were we thinking about
All
there?
I know is that you kept going back to progression, but I don't know what you meant by that.
See, this is what happens when we take notes and we don't.
We should start at the top and just go
And
through
then-
the categories. That
Well,
we
okay,
want to
because
talk
these were
about.
two different things that weren't part of the 5 things.
I'm
These
sure
were
that you will
so-
remember as we start.
I'll
going through
remember
these.
what fitness progression meant later. So the 5 things that we look at primarily. Now, I want to say this is not comprehensive.
Right.
This is just probably the biggest 5 things in general that we look at. Skill. Okay, so we're talking about technique or how well you can use specific equipment. Knowledge and experience, understanding the target of an exercise or workout and how to scale or modify to meet your needs. Stimulus required, understanding how to apply intensity, what intensity you need, and the type that you're looking for.
Intensity.
And we'll talk about that. There's a difference between central nervous stimulus and what you're doing to your body and physiological, right? Your brain has to work and your body has to work. And then that's the stimulus required. And then frequency, how often can you work out or should you work out? And then volume, how many sets, how many reps, those types of things. How long should your workouts be?
Duration. Yep.
Right? That's where that stuff comes in. So
That's a big
that's a huge one. So understanding that at different levels in your journey, these things are going to change. Okay, and let's talk about skill first.
Because it's really the most important thing with
Yep.
everything that you are doing, that if you are not doing it correctly, properly, safely, no progression matters.
Right.
You're not actually getting true progression until you can do it, until you can, I like to use the term movement mastery, until you can master the movement without any weights in your hands or on your back. If you cannot do it body weight, you have no business picking up
Or with a
weight.
PVC pipe or whatever. This is something I
Yeah.
used to see all the time. And I don't hear it as much now because I'm not working one-on-one with people as much, but doing one-on-one work with people and teaching exercises and going through stuff and coaching movement under weight. When you're teaching an exercise for the first time, one of the most common phrases that I hear is, well, if I put some weight on there, I can do it better.
I was going to say, I would say the exact same
Right?
thing.
It's like, okay, no, that's not how it works. What happens there is, let's say a squat. Super simple explanation. You're doing a squat and you're warming up with no weight and you don't go all the way down because you're too tight to get to the bottom as you should. Your hips just don't go as far as they should. And you say something, hey, try to work on that, open up your hips a little bit so you can get a little bit lower. Oh, I'm just too tight now. Once I put some weight on my back, I'll be able to go down. Yeah, because you have weight on your back.
It's forcing you
It's
down.
forcing you down.
That's
That's
not a good
not what
thing.
we're looking for. That means
That's
the
like
weight
fun.
is compensating.
It was on the button.
Oh, your butt was on the button?
Yep.
Had a button going up her butt. Butt. So the weight is compensating for your lack of mobility.
And this could be a problem. You could end up hurting yourself.
Right, because you can't control it. So now what's happening is you're moving weight that you can't control. The weight is controlling you instead of you controlling the weight.
The other big thing.
And that's not what we want.
I hear that with is lunges or any kind of instability, any kind of single leg or
Mm-hmm.
unstable environment, right? Oh, if I had dumbbells in my hands, I could lunge better. No, the weights are now
counterbalance. That's called
Counterbalancing you.
yeah.
So if you cannot balance without the weights, you need to work on your balance without the weights.
Without the weights, right. Absolutely. But the idea is that you control the weight, don't use the weight to control you.
I love that.
Right, that's the biggest thing there. So
really
that's a great example of understanding what that is, understanding the skill. And
I want to point out, like, a big one I see is ankle mobility issues, hip mobility issues for squats.
yeah,
You know, I know how tough it can be to put down the weights after
Yes.
you've been doing it for a long time. A recurring theme lately with my clients is lifting shoes. They learned how to squat with lifting shoes, which gave them basically a
Compensation.
wedge under their heels, and they cannot get their heels down without the lifting shoes.
Right.
So I would rather you take the weight down, sit until it's so light that all we're doing, you take the shoes off, you take the weight down, and you work on that mobility until you can get it without the lifting shoes. I don't
and then
want
build
you
it back
wearing
up
lifting
again.
shoes.
And that's one of the challenges, guys, when we're talking about skill and technique, is understanding that it doesn't matter how heavy you've been going. If you're not doing it right, you have to go lighter to fix the movement. And that's the challenge. I got to go lighter to fix the movement, right? So that's one aspect. Another aspect is we're talking about barbell stuff or different things like that. What if I'm using a machine? There's no skill required to use a machine, right? If I'm getting on a lat pull down, all I got to do is reach up and pull it down, right?
Oh boy.
Even machines have a level of skill and understanding what you're trying to do. Because I can get on a seated cable row and there's 8 different ways that I can do that exercise based on what I'm trying to target. If I'm trying to lean forward to get lower laps, if I'm trying to lean back to get my upper back and my deltoids or my rhomboids, if I'm trying to do single arm to extend my lat as I like, there's like so much variation even with machines that the experience you have of being exposed to them and understanding what you're trying to do, when that's applied and as you build that library up in your brain, which we'll talk about, that's the knowledge and
I
experience
was going to say
piece,
this is the perfect segue into the next topic.
is where you build that advanced level.
Yeah, because even you could be using machines wrong. You could not fit the machine anatomically well and not recognize that
And not adjust
and
it,
still
right.
cause injuries and issues until you learn those things.
Simple stuff like curl machines. I see this all the time. People curling with their elbows halfway up the pad,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So if you're on the machine and you're pushing through your elbow to curl, that is not, you want your
Using your
elbow
tricep
down.
now, yeah.
You want your elbow down below the pad so that the back of your arm is on the thing, right? So there's little things like that. I tell people, get that pad up in your armpits as much as you can.
Yeah, there's
So little things like
definitely
that.
cues with the machines as well. And as a shorty,
As a
there
shorty,
were many years
although you're just as tall as me right now.
when I was just getting started where I would be sitting incorrectly because my back wasn't supported on a machine.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know I either need to do something, add something, put a mat, wrap up a mat and put it behind my back because that's important to have that support.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So understanding how to use machines properly, and it's not just understanding how, that's the experience knowledge part. It's the ability to execute it properly. That's the skill piece. So skill is the execution, and then the next one
the
is knowledge and
form and the
experience.
technique, right.
So I guess we should have put knowledge and experience first, and then the ability to execute it, right? So
Well, here's the thing though. You could be a beginner working on skills with a trainer
true.
and not have the knowledge and the
experience.
experience yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that kind of does, what did I just do?
You
I
just
just
deleted,
archived and unpinned your note.
Thank you very much.
Don't touch the Android phones if you're an Apple person.
Yes. So, okay. So knowledge and experience, right? Having the skill over time, learning the things. This is the piece that I want everybody to understand, because it's something I think a lot of people miss in the mindset about having a coach or having a program.
Ooh, I know where I was about to
The
go
program is not going to, the program should not be your sole repository of information. Okay, you need to take the things of the experience you have following the program and start putting it into your own brain.
Learn as you go. Learn
Okay.
as you go.
So I know people consistently who I've been working with for years, who after 5, 6, 7, 3, 20, however long they've been doing my program, CrossFit, other programs, walk into the gym, see the workout on the board, and have no idea what that a movement is. It's like you have literally performed this exercise 8,000 times. How do you still not know the basics of how to perform it or what it is? It's right. Or, hey, I'm feeling some pain in my shoulder today. Okay, you've been coming to the gym. You've heard the coach give other people recommendations for when they have pain in their shoulders. You've had pain in your shoulders before, and you've heard the coach give you recommendations for when you've had pain in your shoulders. How are you not able to think about what you could possibly do instead of this exercise if you're having pain in your shoulders? There's a disconnect between, well, I don't have to think about it because the coach is there to tell me, and I want to get better and own the journey myself and be able to make decisions for myself. You can't become advanced if you're never retaining the information and applying the experience for yourself.
We used this, I think, in our last masterclass, that knowledge is experience
is knowledge applied.
Knowledge applied, applied knowledge. This is the underpinning of everything I do in the Keto Bikini Academy. We ask you to become the CEO of your body and the master of your journey. That requires ownership. We want you to own your program, learn to make it your own. When we're doing group programs in particular, and you're doing the same program as somebody else, we incorporate a lot, like I said, of alternate exercises. It's not just about what equipment do I have access to, and that determines which exercise I do. We like to teach, what do you need to work on? Is there a different way of doing this exercise? Is there a different alternate exercise you can choose this week to learn something different? You might discover that one of those alternates is a better fit for you. Or what if you cannot get a piece of equipment in the gym? Do you understand the muscles that are being worked, the angle at which we're working those muscles? What's the intent?
That's a big one. What's the
Behind
intent?
this exercise? What are we trying to achieve? And how can you then substitute it with something else? That is making it your own. Or even, we're going to do this a lot in the challenge this year. I might have an exercise on there that could be a quad exercise or could be a glute exercise. What do you want to work on? What is more interesting? What are you more interested in growing?
Choose your own adventure. Choose your own adventure workouts. And this is the part where I would say this is actually probably at the top of the list of what determines if someone is beginner, intermediate, or advanced, is their ability to evaluate the target of the workout, where they are, or the limitations they may have, and identify what alternates or things they need to do to scale, modify, or replace the workout or equipment.
That's truly an advanced skill.
I think regardless of what your experience is, regardless of your skill, regardless of your adaptations and where you are in your physical ability, your ability to adapt to all of those things on your own is the biggest thing that allows you to move from one to the other.
It's so true. And if you have an injury and you need to work around an injury or a limitation, understanding what to do instead is huge. And it's a big thing that stops beginners from moving forward, for sure.
Okay. So that's a big piece. And then we have stimulus required.
I just like to call that intensity.
Intensity. Intensity is a big part of it, but there's also, there's intensity is a great way because there's different types of intensity to see a change, to see an adaptation. What is required in order to get your body to improve?
To get results.
And in what area? This is where we talk about nervous system versus muscles, let's say, right? The physiological versus the central nervous system, the neurological. So for a beginner, most of the gains that a new person gets have nothing to do with their muscles.
Newbie gains.
Okay, newbie gains are all mental. They're all central nervous system. Your body's coordination, the amount of muscle fibers your body's able to turn on at one time, all those sorts of things, right? So the gains that you get stronger, but it's not because you've grown muscle. And this is a double-edged sword because you're seeing progress, but you may not be seeing anything in your body composition. Oh my God, I've been doing this for 3 months and nothing's changing. I haven't gained any muscle.
Right, how did I get so much stronger and I'm not gaining
Right,
muscle?
I don't understand what's going on. I'm so confused because your brain's working better.
It's a really good way to understand.
Right, your brain is functioning better. You're able to do more, your movement is more efficient as you learn how to do these exercises and you train your body to do it. So what happens is your brain gets better and then your brain doesn't have to work as hard for you to move the weight. Then you can increase the weight and then your muscles start getting more impact from what you're doing. And now you start seeing that increase in the muscle and the lean mass and this is another big one for beginners. How come I'm never sore after a workout? Right? I have beginners that get started, and if they're appropriately working and they're focusing on learning the movements, right? If you're a beginner and you're getting sore,
don't want to chase soreness.
If you're a beginner and you haven't really done a lot of exercise in the past and you are getting sore in your workouts, you're going too heavy or you're doing too much. As a beginner,
I would say some of that soreness is simply because you haven't been using it at all,
yes,
and now you're using it.
That is true, right? but there is a fine line.
But you don't want to be so sore that you can't go back the next day. We're going to talk a little bit about that frequency piece.
Right? So there is soreness that can happen, but for the most part, if you're progressing in what I would call at a realistic level.
Rate.
Yeah. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. At a realistic rate, there shouldn't be a lot of soreness when you're first getting started. It should be learning the exercise. And if you're doing so many reps while you're learning the exercise, here's the thing, that you are getting muscle soreness, that means you're also overtaxing your central nervous system. Right? There's take your time, guys. That's what I'm trying to say. When you're learning a new movement, when you're learning something new, learn how to ride the bike before you start trying to jump ramps. Okay?
It is something we see a lot is this glorifying the soreness.
Yeah.
Right? Like that means you did something, right? And a lot of the time, I would say 99% of the time, beginners overdo it with intensity.
Yes. Because it's like we talk about all the time. They try to, I got to do this. I got to go all the way. No.
Especially, and this is what I always teach. I'm getting ready to teach it in this challenge. You join a challenge.
And you got to go all in.
Balls to the walls in the first day.
Got to jump in the deep end.
Right? Yeah, because you're going to burn out real fast and you're going to end up so sore you won't be back for a week and then you just quit.
What about frequency?
Wait, the stimulus required. I just wanted to say something about I want to make this really a simple way to understand this, is that when you are new, you don't need as much to get the results you're looking for as an advanced person. An advanced lifter, I have to throw everything at it to get the smallest amount of change.
That's how you grow.
Newbie gains are where it's at. You're going to get the newbie gains, the central nervous system adaptations. Then you're going to get the newbie gains, muscle adaptations. And that is the most you're ever going to grow in your journey.
It starts going down.
And then the rate starts slowing and slowing and slowing.
And that actually covers the next two things. So what we just talked about, the stimulus required as you advance becomes higher. The frequency with which you need to train becomes higher or lower. We'll talk about that. And the same with the volume, higher or lower. That depends on what you're trying to do and where you're at. So those two are kind of variable.
So let's talk about frequency.
What is frequency?
How often you're working out. Daily, 3 times a week, 5 times a week. when I'm onboarding a new private client and I'm writing a custom program, the first thing I ask them is realistically, look at your life, look at your schedule, and tell me, how many days will you be able to consistently work out? Not
Now,
this week because you're excited, because everybody says 6 days a week, 7 days a week.
right.
Yeah, probably not. Let's be realistic here. Tell me about your work schedule. Tell me about, all of these things, right? Now, when we're doing group programs, it's a little bit different because we don't know for each and every individual.
Right, and we're trying to fit people into one or the other, like beginner, intermediate, or advanced. In general, I think when we talk about frequency, most beginners can work out more often, but the duration and the volume will be less.
Yes.
So let's tie frequency and volume together, because I think they're very related. So volume is the next one. So I think for beginners, it's often more frequency, less volume, and then as you become more advanced, it's less frequency, more volume.
Yes, and
because it's more specific, the adaptation, the stimulus needs to be more.
Let's talk about what volume is.
Right. So volume is actually, you know what? We could probably take volume out and just put that under stimulus, because it's a type of stimulus.
It is.
Right. So
that's why, usually I talk about
volume,
intensity, frequency, and volume separately.
And time is volume.
So volume simply means the number of exercises, the number of reps, the number of sets, and the load.
The load, How much are you lifting
plus sets,
over time?
Plus load.
Yeah.
Plus exercises is a total volume for your day, for your workout, for your training session. So there's multiple things in there, but essentially you can think about it. If you have a workout with a lot of exercises, a lot of sets, a lot of reps, and a lot of weight, that is a ton of volume.
Yes.
It's going to add up to be a lot of volume.
Versus like a beginner program that is 20 minutes every day, but you're doing mostly body weight stuff, just learning how to move your body.
And it's going to, one hallmark of this, for beginner versus an advanced or intermediate, there will be fewer exercises. We don't want you to have to learn 10 new exercises in one workout. Whereas with an advanced lifter who's familiar with lots of exercises already, you might have 3 or 4 brand new to you exercises in a program of maybe 6 or 7 exercises, or even more depending on the program.
But as an advanced lifter, if you are an advanced workouter, is that a better way to say it? If you're an advanced workouter, fitness enthusiast, then you should be able to look at a movement you've never seen before and based on your experience go, oh, this is okay. Simple things. I'm doing an upper back. I'm doing an upper day. I'm working on my upper body, and it's a pull day. So that means I'm working my back. This is a new exercise. It's probably working my back.
What part of my back is it working?
What part of my back is it working? Where should I feel it, right?
Angle of the,
Try it out with light weight. Where do I feel it, right? You should be able to do that analysis on your own without having to freak out. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't find a video. I need to call coach, whatever. Now, if that's where you're at, that just means you're not advanced.
Right. Nothing wrong with that.
You're a beginner or intermediate. Utilize the tools that you have. That's why we're there. That's why the community is there. That's why your coach is there.
Yep.
But if you're getting into a program and you're expecting to be advanced and then you end up constantly asking questions about the program, you're probably not advanced.
Yeah.
Just something to think about.
Or you're asking more in-depth questions.
Ooh, there's another way to look at it.
At that point, you might be advanced and you're really digging in.
Yeah.
I want to learn more, which I love.
Yeah.
I
told you this was nuanced.
Why might we actually have beginners train more frequently?
More frequently? I don't know.
This is something that in the past.
Why in general? Well,
this is something that in the past, I've had programs where beginners had 3 times a week, intermediate had 4 times a week, and advanced had 5 times a week.
See, I go the other way.
I've since changed it.
That's funny. I go the other way.
I've since changed it.
Yeah.
Now I like to do 4-day-a-week programs. That's kind of my template, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I find works with all the different levels. So why am I not pulling back and having beginners do less frequent?
So
because I'll tell you why I like to do it.
Okay, why do you like to do it?
because it's really important for beginners to establish a habit of consistency.
It's like she's in my mind. Seriously, that's not even in our notes, guys. That is not even in our notes. That is literally, yes, 100%. Establish the habit. The habit is more important than the action.
Yep. Even if they're doing one exercise a day.
Yep. 100%.
I would rather, and that's the thing with having a 4-day-a-week program, I sometimes encourage, like, if you're the kind of person who doesn't have a lot of time, I would rather you start the program, do a couple of the exercises, save the rest of it for tomorrow. You can come back to it tomorrow, split it up. You know, you can do half and half on different days.
Yep.
So.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, that's absolutely why.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, on this, we got to talk about something for our advanced people on volume.
Okay.
Why might we do less volume for advanced lifters?
Okay, so the advanced stuff is really interesting because we talked about as you get more advanced, the amount of work you have to do is more to see progress. At the same time, we're saying you might need more volume as one of those things, but we're also going to say you might not need to work out as much.
Lower frequency.
Lower frequency. So here's the thing. Recoverability is a huge part as you advance because your intensity and your volume is higher in general. In order, again, you need more of this in order. It's a really weird balance. As you get advanced, you need more effort to improve, but you also need more rest because the effort is higher.
It's the effort, y'all. This is what makes the difference, is that you could train 4 days a week with lower effort, and that will reduce your overall volume.
Right.
So volume is not just how many exercises, how many sets, how many days, right? Like we don't even take how many days. Frequency is not a part of volume. It kind of is, but it kind of isn't. But if think about it, if you're lifting heavier loads, you're increasing your volume without changing the duration, it may change the duration because you need more rest in between your sets, but it's not adding more exercises or more sets or more reps. It's just adding more load. So there's lots of different ways that you can increase the volume without having a 5 or 6 or, God forbid, a 7-day week. We never program 7-day weeks.
No. I don't like to do more than 5 days.
Yeah,
my biggest program, the program I have that has the most days a week is a 5-day program, and it's specifically designed in a way. It's a conjugate. It's my functional program. It's conjugate. So you're essentially, without getting too complicated, essentially it's a 3-day-a-week program because 2 of the 5 days are completely opposite of the other 2. So it's like you get 3 days, and then you get four days of rest, but you're still getting, that's another video.
Confused now.
So the way that works is you work a set, then you actually get to rest a whole bunch of things before you have to work that again across that time. But that's designed specifically for more advanced people who have gone through my other progressions, right? So most people don't jump right into my functional fitness program, unless they've been through my beginner or intermediate, and they've shown that they can consistently show up to do the workouts, see progress from the workouts, right? When they have questions about they're asking less questions. When they send in movement videos, there's less corrections, like things like that. Then they can move into the functional. And then in the functional, they're beginners for a while.
Yeah.
Because they are learning new things, and then eventually they get into it. And then I have people that have been doing that for multiple years, and they're just kind of trucking along, seeing progress, and just keep going. So,
yeah, I will say another one of the biggest things I see with ladies coming into the academy who are used to doing 5 days a week or more are always put off by the 4-day-a-week program.
Right.
What? Wait a minute. This is less than I'm used to.
Good.
And then it only takes
because you're doing too much.
It only takes a week or 2 for them to say, "Oh my God, thank God I have an extra rest day." And then they get results they've never gotten before.
Yep.
Because they're allowing their bodies to rest. Because y'all, we do not build and repair our bodies, which is where muscle building happens, in the workout.
Yep.
The workout is where you're breaking the muscle down. The recovery is where it's building back up.
Right.
So if you're just going balls to the wall 6 days a week, you are not allowing yourself to recover.
It's the second time you said that today.
I did, because it's a good analogy.
What does it even mean?
I would really love to know now where that comes from.
What is the etymology
You were
of balls to
talking
the
about
walls?
wall balls today.
It is not that, though. I'm pretty sure it's not about wall balls. We're going to Google that one after the live.
Absolutely. Damn.
I totally got you off track.
I totally lost my train of thought now.
Sorry. I couldn't help myself.
Oh, I was just going to say that earlier in my journey, I had coaches who programmed me 6 days a week. That was when I learned, because I worked with one coach for 2 years, and I was doing a bro split, one body part a day, 7 or 8 exercises a day, a lot of volume. We're talking sets anywhere from...
And it did a good thing for you.
Anywhere from 3 sets to 6 sets per exercise. So I didn't even calculate how much total volume that was. It was ridiculous. And yeah, it did do a lot for me. At the time
That's where you got your booty.
it's when I got my pro card.
When you got your booty.
It was... It was the year I got my pro card, and then my first year as a pro. So those 2 years. But you know what I learned during that time?
What?
This is where I think I really went from intermediate to advanced, which makes sense, right? I had my eye on pro. This is where I learned to listen to my body. This is where I would have days where I knew I didn't have it. And I would take an extra rest day. And then I would combine workouts, but cut the volume down myself.
Yep.
So I wouldn't just say, oh, I skipped shoulders yesterday, so today I have to do shoulders and chest. So now I'm going to go do my entire chest workout and my entire shoulder workout in one day, which would have been way too much volume for me. And this is another thing I see in my group. Oh, I didn't get to this one, so can I double up tomorrow? I'm just going to double up these. I'm like, no. Your body's not going to be able to
either
handle
just forget the one you missed and do the one that's next.
Or do pieces, but don't do the entire thing.
Right.
So,
well, I think what you're saying, I'm just going to reiterate in a different words, is the more you start owning your own experience, the more advanced you can become.
yes, exactly that.
Yeah.
Now,
Something else before you, because you mentioned this when we were talking about it yesterday, that I wanted to call out. Something that she said when we were kind of tossing this idea around yesterday was seeing a lot of women who haven't done anything coming in and saying, I've decided I want to make a change, I want to get on stage, and then jumping right into a bikini bodybuilding weightlifting program, and then wondering why they feel like they ran into a wall.
yes,
Because that is not a progression that you start in, that you don't jump into the deep end of the pool right from the get-go.
Yeah, it's understanding that any bikini prep program that you would get on, you are stepping into an advanced program.
Yeah.
It's like starting on your first day of CrossFit to prepare to go to the games.
Oh my God. Right. Yeah, pretty much.
You're saying
or any competition
compete.
level, anything.
Yeah,
like
I want to go competition level out the gate.
Yeah. I've never been in a gym before. Let's
You're gonna
try to get
crash and burn.
Yeah. The amount of volume and the intensity required to get there like that, you don't have, there's no awareness.
I've been there because guess what happened? I signed up with a coach to do a show before I'd ever worked consistently with a trainer before. And I'm so grateful that, first off, I got very sick after my first month with her. And then I'm grateful that she left the gym and I ended up working with 3 other trainers and I did not get on stage that year.
Yeah.
And I ended up with a correctional specialist who took all of the weights out of my hands and made me do what we just explained here. Start as a beginner and learn the movement patterns.
Yeah.
Thank God for that.
So, something to think about. Okay. I don't know if I updated. I didn't update these with the actual things.
No, but I think we pretty much covered it. But what I want to talk about is something you said this morning. Intermediate.
Yes.
How long will most people stay in the intermediate stage?
Okay. For 95% of the people I have ever worked with in the last almost 14 years of coaching, 95% of them, did I say that already? 95% of them will never become more than intermediate.
And I would say for those who are diligent, consistent, that beginner stage is not going to take very long. That beginner stage, 6 months to a year maybe.
Particularly if you're staying with the same program. And
Right.
I'm going to relate this to CrossFit. I'm going to relate this to CrossFit, where if I have a member that joins, they've never done anything. We take them through the beginner stuff. They and then they're with us for a year. Now, a small percentage of those people are going to be consistent and dedicated to learning and improving and trying to skill up their ability to the point where they may want to say, I want to coach, or I want to be in a competition, or I want to do these things, right? That requires a level of ownership and additional education and additional coaching. And like, part of my application of the idea of an advanced athlete or an advanced fitness enthusiast or an advanced lifter, okay, is a willingness to get coaching. If you have never gotten one-on-one coaching, I have a hard time saying that you're advanced. If you have never gone out and taken a certification or a class or done a seminar or a clinic, something to learn about how to get better at doing whatever it is that you're doing, I have a hard time saying that you're advanced. If you have never set a goal that is outside of just fitness, okay? If you've never set a goal, I want to do a Spartan race. I want to do a powerlifting competition. I want to do a CrossFit comp or something like that. That doesn't necessarily mean you're advanced, but there's a mindset there that makes me look at that entire picture and say, this person is more advanced than someone who is maybe showing up consistently at the gym 3 days a week, maybe not, who always does just what's on the board as what the workout is and never tries to push himself, or doesn't fully participate when we have a session in the class that's get better at this skill, right? There's things, and there's a lot of people, guys, and we know this, that just do the minimum to check the box and say, I did what I need to do, and then they go home. And that's where most people will stay.
I have a great example of this. So the last program, I think it was in the prep program, I did a program where, this is really tricky, and I did it on purpose. I did a whole bunch of supersets, which is 2 exercises that you do back to back, with opposing muscle groups, but the same movement. So, for example, step-ups that were focused on glutes versus step-ups that are focused on quads. Bulgarian split squats that were focused on glutes versus quads. Things like that, right? Sumo squats and sumo deadlifts together, which work different muscle groups, different patterns of movement. I did this on purpose so that the ladies can make the connections, that I'm not just going through the motions of this movement and wherever it's working, whatever, wherever, however.
Right.
But it really forced them to think about how they were doing the movement. And I heard some feedback like, you know what, after the fact, I never said this, but every time we had to do that one exercise back to back, I just didn't do the second one because the first one was burning my quads. And by the time I got to the quad focused one, I couldn't do anymore.
Yeah.
Well,
you missed the point.
That was the point of doing the exercise.
Right.
I would have rather you only did one set of each exercise and learned how to engage the proper muscles, meaning you learned the movement properly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and this is a big giveaway for me about whether a person is ready for the next level in the programming that we do. Have they ever sent form check videos?
Ooh. If
you're working with an online coach or an online program that offers you the ability to get feedback on your movement by posting videos, and you never post videos, we are going to have to assume that you are still at a lower level.
Yep. Invariably, the the longer somebody's in a program or the more advanced they are in general, the more likely we are to get a video.
Because they care about
Because they get
the
it.
right
They get it. They
things.
understand.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not about I'm too afraid to set up my camera and take a video. It's about I care about how I'm moving my body.
Yep.
And I want feedback. I want to improve.
Yep. I want to answer this one question because we got a question.
I was going to say we had a good
It's been up there. I've been meaning to answer it. But so Dr. Nelson, thanks for asking a question. What's the difference between circuit training versus HIIT, high intensity interval training? What's a better fit for someone starting at a quite deconditioned level?
Ooh, great question. And I don't know if he meant to put those two together, but I would definitely have an answer for those two together.
Yeah, well, so here's the thing is depending on who you're talking to, they could be the same thing or they could be very different things. That's the struggle of generalized definitions of exercise programs.
Right.
So high intensity interval training could be anything from, well, I'm going to start at the top level. High intensity interval training by definition is circuit training.
Not necessarily.
Okay. Well, the idea that you have multiple movements that you're doing in progression at a high intensity, alternating between the movements. That's essentially circuit training. Okay?
Although you could do HIIT with sprints. And it would be one movement.
Okay, so yes.
You can do sprint intervals and it can be HIIT.
Yes, that is
So
true.
HIIT has more to do with the intensity of the movement. Circuit training can be HIIT or it can be hypertrophy. It can be,
Right.
Where
I was going with that from saying that HIIT is circuit training is that if you look up the definition of high intensity interval training, it's going to say circuit training. It's going to define itself as circuit training. But you are correct. The idea of high intensity interval training is high intensity interval training. It's the intervals and the intensity that really matter. So it doesn't technically have to be circuit training. It just most often is applied that way. Sprint intervals is most often what we talk about when we talk about using it in that perspective. But yes,
which doesn't have to be running sprinting. But
that's a whole
you could
nother
use
thing.
Bicycles. You could use the key. The key with HIIT is you have a high intensity work followed by low intensity work or total rest.
Right.
And it's an interval because there are intervals of them. They're going in and out of these different intensity levels, high and low intensity levels.
And like you were saying, circuit training can be anything, right? On technically
circuit
a
training
regular
can be low
workout.
Intensity.
Well, technically a regular workout is circuit training. I'm going from this exercise, I'm going to this exercise, going to this next exercise, right?
I don't know.
Depending on how you define
I wouldn't
circuit.
call that a regular training. My regular training is not circuit training.
So how are you defining circuit training?
Well, it is going from
Like
one
from one exercise to the other, then going back to it. Right, going back around. Yeah.
And then maybe you'll do that multiple times. Maybe you only do one circuit and then you do another circuit with 5 different exercises. But typically it's more than 2 or 3. It could be 3 exercises.
Sure.
It's usually going to be 3 or more exercises strung together in a circuit that you do either multiple sets of or multiple circuits in an exercise or both.
The most common
in a workout or
right.
both.
The most common circuit that you're going to see at a gym would be when a gym has an area set up with like 6 different machines. It's got, a chest machine, a back machine, a bicep machine, a tricep machine, a quad machine, a hamstring machine, and like a lat pull down. And it's in that order. And then there's a thing that's like circuit, 20-minute circuit. Do 10 reps of all of these 3 times.
Yep.
Right? Something like that. That's kind of the idea of
And like
when we talk about a circuit.
A body weight Tabata program, for example, would be a circuit and HIIT
right.
style training.
Right. Or an EMOM.
Now,
there's a lot of different ways.
bodybuilding style training, like what I do, is not circuit training. You can incorporate some circuit training. Some bikini programs do. I actually don't prefer that. Because the kind of training I do and the kind of training for bodybuilding is ideally it's mostly hypertrophy work, which is the type of training to build the muscle size. Usually that's going to be either straight sets, one exercise, 2 or 3 or 4 sets of that one exercise before you move on to the next exercise, or a superset where you're going to have 2 exercises back to back, which is kind of a step in the direction of circuit. We might have giant sets, but there's even nuance between, if you're going to do a giant set, which might be 3 or 4 exercises, there's a nuance between a giant set versus a circuit. Typically with a circuit, your tempo is a little faster. With giant sets, you are performing them as if with the intensity and the tempo, slower tempo, to push the muscles to their max, just as if you were doing that as a straight set. And then you go to the next exercise with minimal rest.
Good.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, as far as what is better for someone starting at a quite deconditioned level, pick one. Whatever they feel like is going to work, whatever you feel. I'm assuming you found a program online, or you have a gym that's got something, a class you want to join, or whatever else. It doesn't really matter as long as the way that you enter into that exercise or that workout is something that is attainable for you. So don't go in and they're like, here's all the stuff you're going to do, and try to do everything exactly the way they say it. If there's somebody leading the class, if you're talking about a class, how can I get started? Can I cut the reps down? Maybe they've got, do a Tabata, right? Maybe instead of doing 30 seconds, I'm going to do 15 seconds. And then I'm going to rest longer.
Maybe I'm not going to go super fast to try to keep up with the rest of the class.
Right. Maybe I'm just going to practice the movement for that full time, but not try to do it exactly the same, right? So there's that modification, that owning where you are, acknowledging where you are, and trying to enter in at a realistic level for where you're at.
This also
and then build into it, right?
Gets to what we were saying about how you might be a beginner in one thing and more advanced in something else, right?
Yeah.
So if you're talking about being deconditioned, what is your cardio capacity, right? So I wouldn't dive into HIIT training if you're not even taking regular walks. You go up a flight of stairs and you get winded. You may not want to jump into a HIIT class or jump into HIIT training right away. I like to progress your aerobic capacity first, build your capacity up for more intense exercise before you just dive into intense exercise. And especially if you're deconditioned in terms of movements, right?
That's
if you're jumping into an exercise class, like a lot of these, it could be CrossFit, it could be functional fitness in your gym. A lot of the time gyms do these classes that are body weight HIIT style classes, and you are doing technical movements very quickly. That's a recipe for disaster if you don't know how to move properly.
And that's where, again, if you're going to, so I don't have a problem having anybody who's brand new starting any of those things if there's proper guidance. What I don't want you doing is downloading a HIIT workout online and then trying to do it in your basement where nobody's looking at your form, where you're trying to go all out and do whatever the workout says, and you've got no idea if you're even doing anything right or how hard you should or shouldn't be doing. There's no feedback. So if you're going to do a HIIT program or a circuit training or CrossFit is one of the best examples because it's kind of all of those things thrown together. But the whole idea of a CrossFit program is that you have a coach who's there giving you feedback. So you can walk in off the street being completely deconditioned, go into a CrossFit gym, and the workout is going to be tailored for you to step in where you are. No expectations to perform anything other than what you can do and where you are appropriately. So they're going to give you, I've done it a bazillion times where someone comes in off the street and we've got a workout that is, we're doing clean and jerks with dumbbell or with barbells, and they're in there with a PVC pipe learning how to do it while everybody else is doing the normal workout. That's what it should be. That's where the coaching and the scalability modifications come.
I think one of the things you have to be cognizant of
But
is
it has to be
some
managed.
gyms, if you go to a gym and do a group class, I would actually watch the class before you join a class. See what the instructor is doing. If they're just doing the movements themselves and yelling at everybody to
They're
pump
not
it
a
up,
coach. They're not a coach.
then
They're a trainer.
I would skip that class.
Yes. Yes. That is one of the biggest things that drives me crazy is when I see classes, and I'm going to call out Orange Theory. I can't stand Orange Theory because they don't have coaches. They have trainers. If your job as the leader of a group class is to hype people up and make them work harder, and that's it, and there's no scaling, there's no modification, there's no feedback, there's no improvement of technique while people are in that class, you are going to wear people down, you are going to hurt them, and they are going to eventually just fall off the train. And that's just, I see it happen. So many people I know have come from OT who are just like, I can't do it anymore. They just get burnt out, and then they come back. We had people leave CrossFit because OT is the cool thing. They go to OT, and then 6 months later, they're back, and they're falling apart because they just get beat into the ground. Everything about it is intensity with no individuality, context, or progression. So that's just me hating.
I agree.
That's just me hating on Orange Theory. Sorry.
And there's bad CrossFit gyms out there.
There are. Not as many, though.
You know, he's mentioned, that's not true.
Well, so here's the thing. There's a
You've said
nuance.
it before.
I know. There's another
CrossFit
level.
is entirely going to be based on how good the coaches are.
And what is the focus of the gym? This is where a lot of people get messed up too. They're like, I went to this gym, it was horrible. No, it just wasn't right for you. Because I've been to a gym that was owned by two guys who were 24 years old who used to be D1 athletes. And they went to the CrossFit Games. That was not the gym for me. Okay? That gym right now, the owners, it's been sold, but the owners of that gym and the culture of that gym is still very much high level competitive. They actually run one of the qualifier competitions now in the country for the games.
Wow.
Right? So that is a highly competitive, if you are going to that gym, you are not a you're not a CrossFit health person, you are a CrossFit athlete if you go to that gym, right? The gym that I ran, I opened that gym in my mid 40s. I was about, hey, let's have fun and let's get in shape, right? That is a very different atmosphere, a very different mentality of how we're going to do the workouts, what the community is like, the intensity and the focus. So that's a very big piece.
Lately we have 3 CrossFit gyms.
Yeah, I've been looking at potentially joining a gym again.
And he's been looking at what is the culture like,
right.
What is the style, who's working at, you're doing your due diligence.
Yeah. Yeah, community makes a big part, and and this is any gym, but I think for CrossFit gyms it's even more so because there's such a focus on community, and that is, I equate CrossFit gyms to bars. Every city has
its own personality.
Bars, right? You go to any, like just in our block, we've got 7 or 8 different places, bars, restaurants that we could go to on a regular basis if we wanted to. We could have our home bar, like this is our place, right? Our spot. We determine what that is by going there, by getting to know the people, getting to know the bartenders. Do we like the food? Do we like the atmosphere? Are people friendly? Right? Those types of things. It's the same with a CrossFit gym. You're going to go try different ones and see. And this, whether it's a CrossFit gym, it could be the same thing with bodybuilding gyms.
I was going to say.
We've been at a bunch of different gyms over the past 3 years.
So many.
And there have been some that were kind of like, and there's some, like the one that just closed, damn it, that we were like, we really like this gym, and then they closed.
I know.
Right? Or like Chiseled in Columbia. We love that gym.
Until it got overrun by teenagers.
By llamas in
pajamas.
Llamas in pajamas! Oh my God, that is so accurate. In Crocs. Llamas in pajamas and Crocs.
Yeah.
If you've been to a gym recently, you know exactly what we're talking about. Oh my God.
You gotta do a reel on that.
Llamas in pajamas. That is so true. God, I'm so glad the Golds we go to now isn't like that.
I know.
The Golds we go to now is legit. It's a legit gym, and the people that I haven't seen anybody mess around.
It's a variety of people too.
But everybody goes there, and it seems like everybody's there to work. Like there's not a it's not a gaggle culture.
No, it's
right?
not.
Everybody goes there
Right.
and everybody's working.
Yeah.
100%.
And they're
Yeah.
and they have all the different pockets of people. You got power lifters, you got bodybuilders in there, you got
Functional folks.
there's I'm guessing college or high school, they do like
The group, like
certain times
yeah.
of the day you can see like groups going in there working in the functional space on like athletics.
Yep.
The individual people who are just, staying fit at all different ages. It's
I gotta
really
say,
cool.
of all the gyms that we've been to in the last few years, even other than Chiseled, I think Chiseled was the only other one where I would say a majority of the folks that go there seem like they've been doing it for a while.
Yeah, I agree.
It doesn't seem like there's a lot of beginners. There's definitely some people you come in, obviously they're trying to figure out what they want to do and whatever else,
Yep.
but for the most part, it seems like people come in, this is what I'm doing, they're knocking it out. You can see physically, they look like they've been doing it for a while.
Yep.
It's a pretty cool atmosphere.
I was gonna say, so for beginners, a couple things. I always encourage getting a personal training assessment, even if you're not gonna sign up for a whole package. At least go to your local gym, get an assessment. They always offer a free assessment, at least for somebody to look at how you're moving.
They're going to try to
And
sell you a
then,
package, but
yes.
get the assessment anyways.
I still think I'd highly recommend at least getting a few sessions
Yeah.
with a trainer in person when
Yeah.
you're first starting out. Or at least at your gym, they all have the circuit options. Ask somebody at the front desk for somebody to just show you how to use the machines in the circuit area.
Yep.
That is the best place to start.
Yep.
At least you'll know how to do something that you can come back and do on your own if you're not going to go the route of working with a trainer. But that would be the first two steps I would say for any beginner.
Yeah. All right, guys, we've been rambling for a while now, so we're going to let you go. It's over an hour. Thank you for joining, as always. We'll see you next week. Do we know what we're talking about next week?
No, we have lots of ideas.
Was it the intent thing?
We'll
The
probably
intent?
get some new ideas with
We
the
get
week.
we get
all the
ideas
time,
all
something
the time.
we get excited about, especially with my challenge starting, which I should say tonight, doors are closing at midnight. So if you are not yet in the challenge, the Summer Shape Up Challenge, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go to Keto Bikini Secrets on YouTube, Keto Bikini Secrets on Facebook, at the Keto Bikini Pro on Instagram. All the information is out there. Or nataliejgrasso.com. You'll get all the info there, and you can join before the deadline. Don't miss out and have FOMO. And be
Don't
sad
do
that you
it.
didn't
Don't do
join
it.
us.
You're going to want to join our program, guys. It's awesome.
Because enrollments will be closed for Academy while we're doing this challenge until September. You will not be able to get in again until September. So the next 2 months, we are squarely focusing on our challenge ladies. So we'd love to have you with us.
I'm going to be thinking about llamas and pajamas. See you guys for the next week.
Bye.
Llamas